Hello again. Is it worth taking a so-called end of season break? You might have come to the end of your season, your planned events, and thinking about what to do next year or next season. Well, a lot of people are really excited about getting going, getting training so they'll be fitter for next year. Things might not have gone perfectly to plan, or things might have gone really well, and you might be full of enthusiasm. And you might be worried about losing fitness by taking some time off, even though traditionally people say you should take some time off at the end of the season before you sort of get back into it to allow your body to recover. And you want to get going with your new plans, working towards those goals so that you are fitter and better next year. Well, of course, if you take time off, you're very likely to lose some fitness. But losing fitness isn't necessarily a bad thing, because you can't hold a peak for forever. By definition, it's a peak. You build up to your optimal performance, and if you time it right, your optimal performance happens on the time of your main event, and after that main event, your performance drops off. Personally, I'm not sure there's a strong argument for taking a end of season break for physical reasons, because basically if you've trained for 50 weeks of the year reasonably consistently, 2 weeks off is it's a small amount of time, and then you're going to train for another 50 weeks. So unless you've actually got an injury, then as a physical break, I don't see any strong argument for taking time off and having an end of season break. It allows some downtime, your body recovers a bit, you lose some fitness, and then you're ready to sort of build up again. Why is that better than just having a change? So physically, I don't see a strong argument for it, and I never have, even though I see some argument for having an end of season break or having break points throughout the year. It's an opportunity to work on other things you might have neglected. Like you might have neglected the garden, or you might have got some DIY tasks that you have to do, and it gives you time to sort a lot of things out that might be playing on your mind when you get back into training, and you might feel less guilty about making the sacrifices of time when you could be doing, or you feel you should be doing, other things. So you might have neglected your family, your friends, loved ones. They might feel neglected, or they might feel that you've not given them enough attention. So it can be a great opportunity to spend some time with family and friends, reconnect, and you'll feel better for it, and also work out a plan to stay connected throughout the next season. It's a good time for reflection and thinking about what went well last season and what could be done better next season. So it can be a time for planning and thinking outside the box perhaps a little bit, and trying different things, and thinking, maybe spend a bit of time watching YouTube. You could watch me, see whether you find any snippets on our channel. Certainly if you like this and want to subscribe, I'd be very grateful. It helps me, and helps me be more motivated to make more videos. And if you've got any things that you think I might be able to help with, please make a comment or get in touch via our website, and I'll get back to you. As much as anything, it's a good time for a mental break. All these things that I've just described are something different to the routine of getting out, riding your bike, or getting out running and putting yourself through the mill in training day after day. It's a change, and they say a change is as good as a rest. You could go on a trip. If it's only a short break for a week, you could sit on the beach for a week or do whatever. Complete relaxation. If you want to have a change for a month, a longer thing, it's probably better to be active, because I don't think stopping completely is a particularly good idea. So maybe going on a bike packing trip or something like that can be quite good, or a hiking trip like some of the people that I work with are doing. Claire and I just spent 2 weeks touring around Spain, looking at places that we might be able to run a training camp, which was pretty stressful actually. And what we've concluded after driving down the Spanish coast as far as Alicante and spending a couple of weeks testing different venues, a bit of time in Banyoles, which is a beautiful place for training, is that Alet, where we live, is probably the best place. So we decided to run a camp here in Alet. It's got great accommodation, fairly basic, which means we can keep the price down. It's got some good cafes that are open all year round. The climate's pretty good in March when we plan to do the camp. And you can find the details on our website. I'll put a link in the description so you can check it out. If you're not sure of anything, get in touch. And if you want to do something a bit different that's just special for you or a group, then let us know, and we can put a camp on specially for your group. We specialise in doing small camps so that we can be interactive, and it can be a learning and sharing experience rather than a big camp, which is basically a holiday camp where you just have a tour guide. We think there's a lot of value in the camps that are supported with a guide, but we don't feel that that's our strength, and other people do that a lot better. So ours are more interactive with workshops and support from sports massage, sports psychology, sports hypnosis, and lots of other things that we have skills in and we can provide to you. So if you're interested, get in touch. If you want a one-to-one session, we've got a room in our house that we dedicate to athletes that like to come and visit and work with us one-to-one for a week or a couple of weeks. So if you're interested in that, get in touch. So back to the breaks. Well, my personal opinion is it's a good time to reset, rethink, do some planning, reconnect with family and friends, take time to do maybe some DIY, some time in the garden, things that perhaps would be relaxing if you had time to do them. Certainly I find if I've got some DIY to do, I feel I should be in the garden. And I don't really have time to do it. It's not enjoyable if it's rushed, whereas if I've got plenty of time, I quite enjoy doing these sort of menial tasks. It's a time to consider your goals and evaluate things that went well last year, things that could have been done better last year, and therefore things that you can do better in the future. And think about your weekly routine, your monthly schedule, your daily schedule, and things that you might be able to adjust. You could even make small tests of a different daily routine when it's not so critical, or have a plan to move into a different daily routine when you start training again. When it's a bit lower key, you're not doing as much volume, and as a consequence you've got time to adjust things. It also provides a delay to when you start training, which I think is quite useful because it's very easy to get burnt out. There's a long time between now, which is the beginning of October, and when your first event might be in March at the earliest, or April, or in most cases sort of June or July for your biggest event. So it's easy to lose motivation and find it a bit of a struggle to keep training, particularly throughout the winter period when the weather's not so good. But if you delay the start of your training to maybe the start of November, you've only got a couple of months, you get to Christmas. But even though the weather's not so good in January and February, you still you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. And also you might want to come on our training camp in March to give you a bit of warm weather, and it's timed so that you get back, you have a week easy, and then the clock's changing. So you're back into lighter nights after the camp, which we think is actually quite a nice way to go. And then when you start getting back into training, have some sort of phased plan where you think, I'm going to spend 6 weeks or a couple of months working on this thing, and then a couple of months working on something else, and then a couple of months working on something else. And the way to do that is partly to work on the least specific thing to your event first, and work on that until you get more and more specific, until you get into the last couple of months before your event, and then you're doing things that are very specific to your event. And that's the sort of conventional way of phasing things. But also take account of the weather. Like if say you've got to spend most or all of your training indoors over the winter months, then it's not probably a good idea to try and build up the overall volume a lot. It's probably better to focus on higher intensity training that is more palatable to do on an indoor trainer, and maybe do a block of focused strength training, which is also a bit easier to do inside, and then you can build on that as you move outside to do your endurance work, and use the time that you're off training, or that you have a bit more available time to sit and ponder and think and stare at the wall or whatever, to understand why you're doing the different things and what's your motivation, what's your end goal, have a clear picture of your winning image, you finishing this big event that you've got planned for next year or longer into the future if it's a really big thing. And when you understand that and have this clear in your mind, it's much easier to stay motivated when things get difficult. So I hope that helps you. I hope you find it useful. If you've got any questions or comments, please make them, and I'll see you in the next video.